1 second. I understand it's a lunchtime. I'll be very quick and I'll be very specific when it comes to revenue insight first and then followed by market insight. So revenue insight is a BI solution and it gets integrated with different systems like Protel, Opera Cloud, Opera On-Premise, and with IDS Next at the same time. What we are seeing is revenue insight right now for one of the Wyndham hotel. What basically revenue insight is all about. So if you look at a current scenario, a lot of hotels use property management system which are from different companies. At the same time, the property management system main idea is to have a centrally based system for the hotel, which can actually process a lot of data points at one go, and a lot of information can be stored over there with related to rooms, rates, reservations, and a lot of other stuff. Having said that, from a strategy perspective, we do need insights about what exactly business has happened with our hotel. And these are those insights which really help the revenue team and the sales team to analyze what we need to really focus going forward. Every industry today is looking forward for those business insights to understand the trends and consumer behavior pattern for their own hotel at the same time. And that is what revenue insight is all about over here. When I log in, this is how I'll be able to see the dashboard with my Rate Insight subscription and Revenue Insight subscription. To begin with, this blue bar, this famous blue bar, you'll be able to see on every single subscription. Now, what we basically see on this is the calendar. When you see over here, when you click, it will open up a date picker for you. What basically this means, you can pick up any time frame. So for example, you want to analyze the current year, current quarter, next 2 months, or even you want to customize the dates which you want to analyze. When I say customizing the dates, it could be this year Diwali versus last year Diwali. Now, why Diwali? Because Diwali falls into 2 different months. And if you want to analyze the business trends, that what we have sold and what is selling now, you can actually do that over here. For instance, I'll just pick a full year at this point of time, and then I get a reference period over here. In that, I can actually pick up same day of the week, same date, previous period. Again, I can customize it. I can upload my budgets and forecast. I can keep a track of the same at the same time. And I can apply it over here. Now, once I've selected that what I want to see this year versus last year, or this year versus 2022 or 2023 or 2020 or 2019, I can actually look at this over here. Further, I'll be also able to see 2 different views. One is either from bookings or from cancellation perspective. Let's stick to the bookings perspective over here. Now, what we'll be talking and showing here will be purely a transaction level data for your hotel. Now, first thing is what you will be able to see are the KPIs. In this, you'll be able to see occupancy, room nights, and then you'll be able to see what exactly the total booked room nights this year versus last year, or the reference time frame, whatever we have selected, is above or below. And then you can see the segments below. Now I can show you how this can be further aligned. I'll show you that at the later stage. Further, you'll be able to view whenever you hover around your cursor on any of these segments, it will show you what exactly this year versus the reference time frame the business have happened on the books versus cancellation. And similar goes with the room nights also. And then followed by ADR. Now this will be quite helpful to analyze, okay, what my total ADR is and what every single segment is performing when it comes to ADR. I see my groups are actually giving much better ADR than what my transient and my overall ADR is. Followed by my revenues, how much are revenue generated from these specific segment and what exactly my total revenue is. And followed by RevPAR. Just to add one important point over here, when we talk about revenue, it is pure room revenue, which exclude taxes and package elements over here. Now you can imagine, you can imagine the KPIs, what you see over here for the selected time frame with the reference time frame on one single view. Imagine if you have to pull this data from a property management system, it is going to take a lot of time. It's not only going to consume time, but you're going to be in, looking at the data points into multiple Excel sheets, which is going to be quite confusing at times. Further, you'll be also able to see the stated graph. Now, whatever you select on the top, whether it is say occupancy or whether it is room nights, your stated graph will change accordingly. Or even if you select ADR, your stated graph will change accordingly. I'll stick to room nights at this point of time. And just imagine if I have to just analyze every single month, I can just move the cursor and this will give me quick information. what was the business this year versus last year for the month of January, and what were the KPIs and how they have performed. What was my on the books and what my cancellations were. I can simply move the cursor and see this for any specific month. This red basically means a negative change compared to previous time frame or the reference period, and green means basically the positive change. Now, this can be further broken down into weeks, and you can also drill down as granular as days over here. Now, because we have selected a very lengthy date range, you actually see multiple lines in this graph over here. But when you select only 1 month or 2 months, you will see very limited or very selected time frame graph over here. But that's how you can analyze a data point every single day at a granular level. Now, just imagine if I'm a revenue manager, if I have to pull this data from my system, it's going to be a task for me. I'll be investing a lot of time. Plus, by the time my report is ready, something new data points must have already been discussed, which needs to be presented. And that's where this system really helps a lot in analyzing these data points further. Further, I'll be also able to see pickup and pace in this. Now, because I've selected the entire date range, which is for the entire year, I'll be able to see how the business has picked up for the entire year. I can go as granular as over here in the extremely bigger view, which can actually further be filtered, like how the pickup was yesterday for the entire year, 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, and 30 days out. And how compared to previous time frame, the difference is, whether it has gone up or whether it has gone down, and it is giving breakdown of every single KPI. And the best part is you can always click here on Excel sheet and download the report for your analysis and insight. Now, the next interesting feature is your pace. Understanding pace is quite important, specifically during these times where the business is quite different. And every hotel has their own business pattern. And that's what we are trying to analyze over here, that what are my insights? What is the business behavior trend for my hotel? This trend will allow you basically to analyze and understand the pace of your hotel, how exactly the business has been pacing for my hotel for every single day compared to the selected time frame. And these dotted lines, what you see over here, the light blue line, are basically the projected or estimated forecast or estimated revenue or KPIs, how much the hotel will be able to generate. Now, how this has been captured, this is basically compared to the historical business and the current trends. And using an AI technology, this helps us to understand what exactly the revenue I'll be able to generate as of now for the entire year. And I'll show you how you can actually break down this into single day and specific time frame also at a further stage. Now, once we have seen our KPI as the pickup and the pace, the most interesting part starts from here, which are the breakdowns. Now, here you'll be able to see multiple windows, small windows, which can be again extended further. First thing is what you'll see able to see segments. All the data points starts from here, what segments are performing for me, whether it is transient, whether it is groups or contracted crew. There are certain unmapped also, which I'll explain you how that can be mapped, and others also at the same time. In transient, what is performing, whether it is corporate, whether it is OT retail or retail at the same time, and how it has performed compared to previous time frame. I can click on extension icon, and this will give me a quick view for the entire year, what my transient has done and other segments at the same time, how have they performed. I can see my transient is highest compared to last year at the same time, which is like almost 9,000 plus room nights compared to previous time frame, what ADR it has generated and what revenue it has generated for me. I can then drill it down further to every single granular segments further, like from corporate, from OTAs and retail and FIDs and so on. And you can always click on extension on the Excel icon and download the report from here. Further, you also can see from rate code perspective that which rate codes. Now this hotel probably has one rate code. If you have multiple rate code, that can be also tagged over here. This will allow you to understand, okay, which rate codes are performing well on which day and what is the significance of that rate code. This will again allow me to see all my KPIs, followed by travel agents. Now, the mapping is quite important over here. I'll show you what exactly that needs to be done. Whether it is from a travel agent perspective, which are the travel agents who are performing well for my hotel and which are not really performing well. I can go into the extension icon and click and view every single travel agent over here. Now, why this data is important? Because this will help you to focus and be more attentive in which from areas where business is generating more for us and the areas which are not generating, what could be the reason why they are not generating. So this is basically allowing me to see every single area, how the business has been transforming for my hotel for this entire year. Further, length of stay plays an important role to analyze and understand what sells a lot. Generally, we have seen like one night is always a dominating factor, but there are quite a few hotels where LOS 2, 3, and above plays a dominant role when it comes to room night generation. So here we can see LOS 2 has generated a great amount of room night, which is almost 8,331. And then when I move the cursor there, I can see a quick information, how many room nights, at what ADR, and what revenue I've generated this year versus last year. And at the same time, how much cancellations I have received for this specific LOS, which is 2. I can again go here and go into granular information. I can align this over here and see every single rate, LOS, which have performed well. As I said earlier, one night is going to be a dominating factor, but you can see 2, 3. These are like quite a good LOS, which have really performed well for this hotel over here. I can then further look from a day of the week perspective, which day I get the maximum business, whether it is Sunday, whether it is Monday, whether it is weekday, even on Friday and Saturday, what kind of room nights I've generated and what my overall KPIs are for that specific day over here. Followed by the room categories, which room categories sell a lot, whether it is a base room category or whether it's the next room category, all these details I'll be able to analyze over here. Now, most interestingly, your company, this will be quite helpful for your sales team and the revenue team. Also, I'll be able to analyze and understand which companies have performed well for my hotel. They still have some work to do when it comes to mapping. I'll show you what exactly mapping is and how important that mapping is all about. But this will quickly allow me to see for the entire year for my hotel, who has performed well, whether it is Make My Trip, whether it is Agoda, or whether it is Booking.com, and how much business they have generated. Along with all these KPIs, I'll be able to track over here. And it's not about just tracking the KPIs, but I'll be also able to understand the pace, which is basically what is the business pace coming from these channels and what is the expected pace from these basically companies or travel agencies for my hotel in the future. At the end of the year, where I'll be able to see the company spacing, who will be producing what, and how much I need to focus. Accordingly, I'll be able to analyze this data effectively over here. And finally, you also get to see booking window. Very important. I understand for majority of the hotels, it's 0 to 3 days, but there are a lot of other windows, booking windows, which also helps to understand that what exactly business happening between that specific time frame. Now, if you see over here, yes, 0 to 3 days is quite higher, which has generated almost 11,000 room night. But if you see 50 plus days, they have actually generated more room night, which is like almost 13,538. And this is giving me further breakdown of every single window. Now, why this is important to understand, because at any point of time, if you want to plan some kind of not only promotion, but price points, this will be quite helpful that, okay, what booking window generate what kind of business, I'll be able to track this from here. And when I was talking about the PMS mapping, you need to simply click here and go to PMS mapping. This will allow you to align these data points accurately. You can create your own hierarchies. You have your PMS value, and then you can always change these display names over here. And then you can simply align them, whether this needs to be in transient or this needs to be in corporate or any elsewhere. And that's how whatever you align over here, accordingly, you'll be able to visualize the data at the front end. Similarly, goes with rate code. So in case if they only have one rate code, that's great. If they don't have, if they have multiple rate codes, then you can accordingly align things over here. Same goes with the travel agent. I generally suggest to align these very effectively because this will help us to understand from where exactly the business coming is. Now this DFIT, I really don't know what value this holds, whether it is for say wholesaler, whether it is for tour operator, that needs to be mentioned over here. And then accordingly map whether it should be in online, whether it should be in business or high street. By doing all these activities, you'll be able to see effectively the data points on Revenue Insight. And finally, with room company and room nights, you can actually create it from a category perspective, like category A accounts, B accounts, or C accounts, or you can do it from an industry perspective, like airlines, hospitality, industry. Why this is important? Because this will help you to analyze the data points very effectively. Which industries are performing well, which industries were performing well in previous quarter, and for the next 90 days from where we are getting the maximum business. Say, for instance, it was majorly coming in from, say, banking industry, financial institution. We accordingly can suggest our sales team that, okay, this is where we are getting the maximum business from for the next 90 days. Let's focus our attention to these sectors from where we can generate more business. So that's how these data points will be quite helpful for you over here. I'll go back in revenue and I'll just quickly talk about two important things over here. One is definitely if I have to analyze the data points, the breakdowns into much granular format. Like, say, for example, who has given me the maximum two-nighter business for this entire year? Now, just imagine if the general manager asks this question that, okay, or maybe the stakeholders ask this question that, okay, can you please let us know who gave us the maximum two-nighter business? I'm sure pulling that data will be easy, but then aligning that data, deriving the insights will be quite a challenging task. However, when you just click here on two, it will basically tell you that what exactly the business happened from a two-nights perspective, the room nights, the KPIs, and the ADRs all at one go. And further, how exactly the business is pacing from a two-nights perspective, which segments have performed, how the pickup is, every single granular data you can get to see over here. Which companies are performing well, whether it is, say, Make My Trip or Agoda, or these are, again, there are non-specified, which I mentioned that the mapping is required. And that granular data can be derived. So 2 nights, and further I can go granular between, say, 14 to 49 nights. I can go further with, say, only on weekdays. All these granular data points I can go. I want to go for online. I can go into online. You can create that also. Online, and under online, you can add all those online channels like Booking, Expedia, Agoda. So it will give you more granular information. What is my online business coming in from for 2 nights from 14 to 49 days? So a lot of these breakdowns and granular formatting can be done over here. The importance of this is this will help you to strategize things a lot in future. And you can save these also. If there are certain favorites, you can save over here. You can save up to 20 favorites over here. Further, if I want to analyze, say, next 90 days, I can simply click here and understand how exactly the business is pacing for the next 90 days. If you remember, I mentioned who is performing well, which are the industries performing well. I can go back and check over there. Surprisingly, you can see now 3 nights and 5 nights are the business which are really doing well for the next 90 days. From where am I getting these 3 nighters and 5 nighters? I can simply click over there and I'll be able to then analyze the data. Okay, 3-night business, I'm getting it from booking.com, Agoda, and there are, of course, which are not mapped yet correctly. And I'm getting that maximum on weekday, and that is specifically on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. I need to then derive a strategy. Okay, what I need to do? Do I need to have an LOS based on restriction, like, close on arrival or close on departure? A lot of these things, your data will tell you what needs to be done for the future dates. Again, depending upon the revenue team and the hotel, whether they want to implement that or no. But these are the insights which are quite available over here. Now, what we saw was from a bookings perspective. If I just want to go and analyze from a pace perspective, and if you want to see where exactly this dip is coming, where exactly these curve is going up, where did I get the business for that specific time frame, I can simply select and drag that area, and the entire dashboard will change for that specific time frame. This will give me information from where exactly I've got the business, who has generated the maximum business for that time frame, and what is the room nights and ADR I've generated for that specific upward pickup trend, what I can see over here. That level of granular data you can identify over here. And what we saw was right now, everything from booking perspective, I can simply move to cancellation and analyze and understand what is the cancellation trend for my hotel for the entire year. And why this is important to understand, because you have taken all the efforts to bring that business, and if someone has canceled, you need to again restart all those efforts to bring that business back to the hotel. And that's where this cancellation trends will be quite helpful to understand how much room nights have we lost. And again, every single KPI from that perspective. But more interestingly, transient, if I click on transient again over here, it will help me to understand from where exactly this transient cancellation has come to me, which are those channels from where I've got the maximum cancellation. I can not only see that, but I can also see the lead time of those cancellation along with the booking windows. So that's how this is going to be quite helpful for me to analyze and understand what I need to do. For example, I book for transient and I can go on weekdays. I can see these are the dates which I see a lot of cancellations. These are the booking windows, and I see far out date. I can see maximum cancellations coming in over here. And which are the channels I can go and check. Okay, they're still unspecified over here, which again relates to the mapping and the hygiene of the hotel. Hygiene, when I say the system hygiene over here. And that's where I can then focus on implementing some strategies where, I can try to minimize the cancellation, whether my price points are not effective over there, whether am I missing anything in terms of policies. A lot of these details can be looked at after looking at these data points over here. Finally, in this, you can also upload the budgets and forecast over here. When you click on this, you'll be able to upload the budgets. Now, this hotel I've not uploaded, but it's very simple. You can simply click on upload. You can upload the budgets and forecast. But before that, you need to download the template. When you click on this, it will help you to download the template, and it will give you information, whether you want to do month-wise, day-wise, or you want to simply pick up a time frame from what date to what date or which month you want to analyze. I generally suggest at hotel level, but if you feel free to do as per segment also, because at hotel level, you just need to add the details. The system will be automatically, smartly calculating that what segments have performed well, what are they performing now, and accordingly align those targets over there. I don't recollect a hotel to show you how it looks like, but it is quite informative to see, along with the budgets, how are we progressing and what exactly insights have been shown to my hotel for my business. And similar goes with the upload forecast also at the same time. So that's what you have for revenue insight. There can be a lot of granular stuff which can do. For example, if I want to analyze how my pickup was yesterday for the next 365 days, I can click on custom. I can go for the date over here. And then I can just go until, say, August next year, apply. And this will help me to understand that what exactly the business has picked up yesterday for my hotel and which are those months. I've taken a long range, so it might take few more seconds to open up the data. Yes, that's how I'll be able to see. And I'll just click on yesterday. And then this will show me what exactly business trends were. So now imagine on one few clicks, you're able to see what exactly the pickup trends are. I'm not saying that you're not able to see it now. You're definitely able to see that, but this will give you more granular information. What room nights, at what ADR, which segment picked up well, what revenue it generated, and every single detail at what LOS, which companies, and the room types again at the same time. So a lot of this granular information you get over here when you look at these data points and these insights over here. Any questions at this point of time from revenue insight perspective? Gitika, anything from you or any from other participants?
I don't see anything. If you guys have any questions, you can unmute yourself or you can type it in the chat box and we'll be happy to pick that up.
Yeah.
Sachin, I think let's just continue towards market insight, and then in the meanwhile, if anything comes up, then of course we can answer.
All right, no worries. So I'll just move to market insight. Just give me a second. I'll just share my screen. So one of the Bangalore property I'm just showing, which is your Howard Johnson Bangalore. I'm showing you market insight. Now, market insight is a completely different subscription. This basically tells you a forward-looking data. It's industry's first predictive tool, which allows you to see what exactly is happening from a demand perspective for the future dates. Now, before I begin, I just want to give you very important information that this market insight is active only for 5 markets in India at this point of time: Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Mumbai. We are looking forward soon to have markets like Jaipur, Kolkata, Goa. These are few markets which we are exploring, whether we can activate it very soon. But as I mentioned, the major metros, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad, these are active right now. Now, what we get to see over here. Now in Market Insight, you get to see for the next 365 days how the demand levels are. As on today, in last 7 days, whatever changes have happened. I can pick up the time frame again over here, whether it is 60 days, 90 days. I can check the demand, how it has changed today versus yesterday, 3, 7, and 14 days ago. It will give me two different views. On the left-hand side, it will give you the entire year calendar with different color combinations. I'll explain you what exactly these are. And then the market outlook. Now, in market outlook, you first see is the demand forecast. Now, before I talk about demand forecast, I just want to give a small brief about this product further. Whenever I want to travel, the first thing I do is start looking at flights. I start looking at hotels, and then I start looking at those hotels and flights for different dates on different channels. Now, this is what the booking intent of a traveler is, and that is what we have captured over here. Now, why we are talking about booking intent? Because as a traveler, we actually tend to look on different websites, and that's how the data is pulled from multiple sources over here, not just one channel. These channels are your OTAs, metas, GDS platforms. So it's like hundreds and millions of data points what we capture, and these several factors like GDS, OTAs, meta sites. We look into the hotels in your market. We look into availability of these hotels. We also look into the price points of these hotels. These are like 3, 4, and 5-star hotels. We also look into the restrictions applied by these hotels. It could be close no arrival, close no departure, length of stay restrictions. And as I mentioned earlier, we're looking into the hotel searches and flight searches, which are happening on these channels like OTS, metas, and GDS platform. Now, based on these entire data point, we have an algorithm which shows you this demand forecast percentage for the next 365 days. Now, in this graph, you see multiple lines. The bars, what you see over here, which are blue, red, and different colors, the extremely lower or a very low demand basically is this icy blue color, and the extremely high or very high demand is basically the red color over here. And that is what you can see in these bars. Now, this is basically very low demand. This is basically elevated, and these are the high demands over here. Now, whenever you move the cursor, it will give you quick information for that specific date. Like as on today, for 13th of September, in last 7 days, what has changed? Earlier, the demand was normal. Now it has elevated. Slightly, it has gone up. And it also show the searches for last 7 days, whether it has been normal or whether it has gone on a higher side. Again, on GDS, OTS, and meta platforms over here. Further, this blue line, what you see is your hotel price. This dots, what you see are the opportunity dots. Now, what this basically tells me, in combination with the demand in my hotel price, it is basically telling me what exactly is the opportunity over there. This is telling me as of now, we don't see the demand. The system is not tracking higher demand, but the price points are on a higher side. The price is on a higher side, which is expected. But at the same time, if you see over here, it says the demand is quite higher, but your price points are lower. So this is what the system will immediately allow you to see. Now, these are the indicators based on the search criteria or multiple sites, which I mentioned earlier. Now, the entire decision lies on the hotel and the revenue team based on these indicators, what action they need to check. And this is what we're talking about forward-looking data, which means as of now, for the future, this is what we can see. I believe a lot of people over here on the platform must be definitely familiar with this term, wherein in earlier, a lot of revenue team and sales team used to connect with their airport reps or their source at the airport to understand what is a flight load between today, tomorrow, or next 3 days. What kind of passenger can be expected for those specific time frame, and accordingly, they used to strategize themselves. All that data, because of the systems and change in time and behavior of consumer pattern, all have gone digital now. Sitting here in your room as of today, you can see for the next 365 days what exactly is happening. Who is searching for which day, from which city, at what LOS, and what are the price points for those specific day for my hotel and my Comsit hotel. Just imagine this entire data set on single platform. Further, you get to see the last 7 days searches over here. All right, sorry, I missed one thing very important over here, the smart Comsit. Now, this light blue line is a smart Comsit. Now, this is industry's first dynamic Comsit. I'll talk more about it when I'm actually into a day profile. But these are those hotels which we don't consider, or my hotel doesn't consider as a competition, but customers are looking at them when they actually look at my hotel. And that's why they are known as smart comps over there. I'll talk more in detail how we calculate that at the later stage. Further, last 7 days searches for this selected time frame. Flights for OTAs and metas and GDS, hotels on OTAs, meta and GDS. If I quickly talk about flights on OTAs and meta, this will give me clear information that, okay, as of now, which are the top 10 countries for where people are searching for Bangalore. So India, UK, Australia, United Arab, and so on. When I click over here, I get to see airports, which are these airports from where these searches are happening. So almost 56% of the searches are happening from the domestic market. And these are those airports from where the maximum searches are happening for Bangalore. LOS is 4.6 because we track a return flight. We are not looking at one-way flight over here. And then followed by UK, which are the airports from where these searches are happening. And then it gives you an aggregated breakdown of LOS for the entire 60 days in future, what we have selected for including all these top countries. What is the length of the stay from where the flight search is happening? As I mentioned, we're looking at the return flight. So the maximum search is happening between 4 to 7 nights when looked at Bangalore. And similarly, you can look at GDS. Now you can see in GDS where exactly the searches are coming in. And these can be helped and information can be passed on to the sales team. They can actually connect with their travel agents or their corporate accounts where their offices are based on in these countries. So that's how you get to see two different perspectives. One is from an online perspective and one is from a GDS perspective, where you actually can try to find more leads coming in for your hotels. And then most importantly, followed by hotels. Now, of course, India is always going to be on top over here, considering the length and breadth and the size of the country and the searches which happen. Here you can see 88% and above searches are happening with an average LOS of 2.3 for the next 60 days from India. Currently, we are only showing you the country. We don't have an option or a feature to show you from which cities these searches are happening. That's a part of enhancement. We don't have a timeline, but we are working on it. And then followed by UK, United States, Qatar. Now, why these countries are there? What am I going to do with these data points? This is going to be quite helpful because this is telling me the length of the stay, the aggregated length of stay, what people are looking at for the next 60 days over here, because we have selected 60 days on the top. As I mentioned earlier, one night is always going to be a dominating factor, but look at this, 2 nights. It's almost 26% of the people are searching for length of stay 2. 3, again, almost 12%, and 4 to 7, again, almost 13%. That question goes back to two different departments over here, A to the revenue team and B to the marketing team, that how do we have an LOS based pricing, and to the marketing team, how effectively are going to utilize these data points to run an ROI driven promotion by using Google AdWords, redirecting that traffic on our brand.com. Everybody would definitely like to have business coming on their brand.com. Of course, OTAs are definitely there to support, but if anything comes directly, that's most welcome every single place. And that's how you'll be able to analyze what I need to perform in terms of LOS based pricing, because I can see there's a demand happening for 2 nights and 3 nights over here. Do we have that price point? And then followed by GDS. In GDS, we currently only show you LOS. So again, you can see 4 to 7 nights is quite higher over here. And that is exactly what we saw in the flight searches when it comes to the GDS and OTA searches at the same time. So these are some data points which can be related and these can be infused into our strategies, into our revenue strategies to have that achieve goal of optimizing the data points to secure those revenue right now for the future dates. Now, this is what you have for the entire year on the left-hand side, and this is what we saw for the next 60 days. You see these dates which are on red, and these are those dates which are on a higher side. Now, if I have to pick up a specific time frame or maybe a specific day, say for example, I want to understand what is happening on 13th of September. I'll click on 13th of September. It will open up a day profile for me. Anything and everything right now, what we are going to see is information for 13th of September only. How the demand indicators have changed in last 7 days because we have taken 7 days. Earlier it was normal, now it is elevated. And then you also can see if there is any event which is accepted, What exactly that event is, I'll tell you that also. Sorry. How much percent of the hotels are unavailable? What exactly is the price point for my hotel? Now, before I'm moving to the price point, let me just talk about this heat map over here. This is my hotel right now. This is where my hotel is. The dark blue ones are my own com set. And these are my smart com set. You can imagine the kind of massive smart com set the hotel has. Now, why smart com set? If you remember, I mentioned this is industry's first dynamic com set. If I was looking at Howard Johnson, I also saw Fortune, and actually Fortune becomes my smart com set. Whose smart com set? Howard Johnson smart com set. Because as a customer, I was looking at it. It's not just a customer search pattern what we track. We also look into the star category, price point, review score, location, and the customer reviews at the same time, and the capacity of the hotel at the same time. When I say capacity, is the room capacity. So these are like multiple data points which we look at before we suggest these smart com set over here. I can give an example. In Maldives, there are maximum hotels who use Market Insight. They actually have started focusing more on their smart com set because that is what the consumer trend is showing them. And that's where it is benefiting them quite heavily. However, if I have to look into demand evolution up to 2 months in history, that 13th of September, 2 months ago, what was the scenario? And every week closer to the date, how the demand started building up, you'll be able to see these data points over here. It will not only highlight the sub-markets over here, but it also change these data points. See, for example, if I'm changing this, you can see the price distribution level, the demand levels. The moment I change, the data point change because every week this gets updated. Now just imagine as on today, if you know in future rate, these are the high demand rates, you'll be able to take action much faster. And when you know these are low demand rates, you can accordingly change your strategies based on today for that specific day. And I believe that's what the revenue management is all about. You need to keep on changing depending upon the consumer behavior and trends, and at the same time, internal data points also. Further, you'll be also able to see the price distribution level over here, and you also get to see the legends over here. This is how you can take and untake them any point of time. And if there is an event, you'll be able to highlight it over here. So if I go here and highlight this star, this is what I can see what exactly event is happening on that specific day. And I can then try to capitalize this opportunity that I can see there's a demand happening. Let me see. LOS is also moving upward. Let me put an LOS price point over there. And when I say distribution level, this will allow me to see two different buckets. One, the price on the lower side, and other on the price on the higher side, which are in the red bars over here. This is what the usual Wednesday pricing is. Usual Wednesday pricing is basically a yearly average price point. And where am I situated as of now? I'm situated in the usual pricing because this is highlighted. This bar is highlighted in black border. And you can see Howard Johnson by Wyndham Hebel. My property is situated right now there. And I'm competing with three more properties, which is Regenta, Fortune, and Country under that price point. If I have to change the bucket, and if I have to go towards a reduced price point, what should be the price point and with which all hotels I'll be competing? Further, if I have to go beyond 13% lower, which are the hotels and which hotels I'll be competing? If I have to increase, what will the price and which all hotels I'll be competing over here? So this basically price distribution act as a price suggestion platform also for the hotels for the future dates. And when I click here on see more, I'll be able to see the list of the hotels, their usual pricing for Wednesday, and what exactly the current price points are. So this is where I am basically more or less at the same price point, but these are the hotels who had a different usual pricing and what exactly the price point is as of now for that specific day, which is a Wednesday. Now further, I'll be also able to analyze the data points from the search perspective. I'll be able to see how many searches have happened in last 7 days over here, which is like almost more than 1 lakh searches, 10 lakh searches over here, what we can see. Now, how many flight searches have happened? I can click here. I can go as granular for 13th of September. What is the LOS from flight searches and which are the countries from where these searches are happening? Similarly, I can go for GDS, I can go for hotels, and then I can analyze. You can see 29% of the searches are happening for LOS2. Again, the same question, do we have an LOS based pricing? I'm not saying discount, but LOS based pricing. Or have we put a restriction that we know that there are people searching for 2 nights? Let's do something better and capture the opportunity right now rather than waiting till last minute. So you can see on the higher side over here, and which are the countries from where these search is happening. And from India, you can see almost 3.1 is what average LOS people are looking for those specific days, which include basically 13th of September. And then at the same time, we can look at GDS, and this will also allow me to see 2 nights is almost 64% of the searches, which is contributing on GDS, which basically gives me a clear indication as a revenue person what I need to do, where I need to focus my attention. And then I can go into my revenue insight, what is happening on those days, from where am I getting the business, what is the LOS, what is the price point. Then I can go into the rate insight and see what exactly price points I'm keeping from a 2 nights perspective. So these are like different subscriptions which will be quite helpful to look into these demand data points over here. And finally, in this, you can always compare these filters by increased demand with higher price or the lower price. And accordingly, it will show you the demand is going up over here. It will immediately highlight you for those days the demand is going upward, but the price point is lower at this point of time. So that's how you'll be able to analyze the data points over here. That's what I have for Market Insight. Any question at this point of time?
I don't see anything in the chat. So I'm assuming we're good.
Yep. Cool. So I'm happy to connect at an individual level also, or a property level. If you want to know more insights and see and evaluate this for your hotel, happy to look into that.